WNBA star Brittany Griner's absence took center stage at the All-Star game yesterday. She remains in a Russian jail after pleading guilty to drug possession charges last week. On Face the Nation yesterday, Vice President Kamala Harris declined to say if a possible prisoner swap could be in the works. Meantime, President Biden is marking the passage of the first major gun safety bill passed by Congress in nearly 30 years at the White House today. Nikole Killion has more from the White House. So, Nikole, at an event today, the president will mark the bipartisan gun control bill that it passed last month. The administration broke down 21 ways that it says it has taken action on gun violence. What is the White House saying, and what more do we know about who will be attending this event?
Yeah, in terms of those 21 actions, it's highlighting some of the executive actions that the administration has taken. For instance, there was a DOJ rule to rein in the proliferation of ghost guns. The administration also says that, it's provided more grants to law enforcement. Also, that it has allowed a number of localities and communities to use funding from the American Rescue Plan, some $10 billion to go towards gun violence prevention, intervention, and public safety programs. So these are just some of the steps that the administration says it has also worked to try to counter gun violence. Obviously, some of this coming as many feel that the administration and Congress could do more because, of course, keep in mind that bipartisan deal and law that was passed is pretty narrow in scope in terms of, dealing with helping states to adopt red flag laws and, dealing with mental health and school security and the like. But it doesn't go so far, for instance, as an assault weapons ban or universal background checks. And there are some, especially after we saw that shooting in Illinois over the 4th of July holiday, who feel that more should be done to address issues of gun control and gun violence. So I think that's why you're seeing the administration say, we're doing all that we can. Obviously, Congress taking this action is historic, probably the most significant action we've seen Congress take on a gun control legislation in some 30 years.
Meantime, the president is heading to the Middle East later on this week. It's his first trip as president. He shared what he is hoping to accomplish in an op-ed over the weekend. But some experts argue that, his policies are basically the same as the former president in the region. What is the president looking to accomplish, and how is he trying to differentiate himself on this trip?
Well, the president does argue differently in this op-ed and says that, his goal is to make the region, more secure and more integrated. And because of that, he intends to engage in diplomacy intensely, in his words, with a lot of face-to-face meetings while he is on this trip. Obviously, as you know, he has gotten a lot of criticism, but particularly for his anticipated visit to Saudi Arabia. But he says that, his record on human rights and his position on human rights is clear, and that fundamental freedoms will always be on the agenda. And he also talked about how he is different from his predecessor in terms of his approach to the region. For instance, with the Iran nuclear deal, of course, he criticized the former administration and former president for allowing Iran to renege on that, and kind of reinforce that the U.S. is still working to try to get Iran back to the table. But until then, acknowledging that Iran does remain isolated, and that the U.S. and his allies are trying to keep Iran isolated until it rejoins the agreement. Also, another way that the president says he's being different is that he will be the first president to travel from Israel to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and he said that he hopes that this will be just a small symbolic step to, show more normalized relations that are developing between Israel and the Arab world.
Nikole, thank you very much.
You bet.